Warriors question. Warriors take responsibility for their actions. Weapons just follow orders, no matter how wrong they are. Your admiral is giving you a choice. That's rare. That's special. Most leaders don't trust their people enough to give them a choice. But Admiral Kresh is showing you respect by letting you hear the truth and decide for yourselves. If you still believe this attack is right after hearing everything, then I can't stop you. But if you have even a shred of doubt, if you think maybe you're being manipulated, then stand down. Verify the truth. Act with honor, not blind obedience. That's all I have to say. The choice is yours. Marcus stepped back from the console. The bridge was silent. Then, on the tactical display, something happened. One ship powered down its weapons. Then another. Then 5 more. Then 20. Within minutes, half the fleet had stood down. Admiral Kresh watched the display with an unreadable expression. Then he spoke into the fleet-wide channel again. All ships, this is Admiral Kresh. Power down weapons and hold position. I am personally returning to the homeworld to verify our orders. Until then, no offensive action will be taken against human space. Any ship that disobeys will answer to me personally. He closed the channel and looked at Marcus. You're either very brave or very good at manipulation, Commander Chen. I've heard that before, Marcus said. I'm still not sure I believe everything. But I'm sure enough to risk my career on finding out the truth. If you've lied to me, human, I'll hunt you across the galaxy. I didn't lie, Marcus said simply. 3 days later, Marcus and Kyra stood on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The red sun was setting, painting everything in shades of crimson and gold. Admiral Kresh had confirmed everything. The conspiracy was fully exposed. The false orders were canceled. The fleet had returned to normal patrol patterns. Humanity was safe. It's really over, Kyra said quietly. For now, Marcus replied. There will always be more problems. More conflicts. More people who think war is the answer. Probably, she agreed. But maybe fewer than before. You changed something, Marcus. Not just by stopping the fleet, but by showing everyone that humans and Vraxians can work together. My people are starting to see yours differently. Your people are starting to see you differently too, Marcus said. You stood up to a coup. You fought beside me. You risked everything for what was right. That's the kind of leader the Empire needs. Kyra looked at him. And what kind of leader does humanity need? Marcus thought about that. I don't know if I'm a leader. I'm just a soldier who got lucky. You're more than that. You've become a symbol. The human who can't be defeated. The man who ended 2 wars. What will you do now? The peace is secure. You could probably negotiate a return to Earth if you wanted. Marcus turned to face her. Is that what you want? For me to leave? No, Kyra said softly. But I won't force you to stay in a political marriage you never wanted. It's not political anymore, Marcus said. Hasn't been for a while. You know that. Then what is it? Marcus reached out and took her hand. I don't know exactly. Something new. Something neither of our peoples has seen before. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's what peace really looks like. Not just treaties and borders, but actual connections between people. Kyra squeezed his hand. My father wants to make you an official military advisor. He wants your perspective on restructuring the Empire's approach to conquered territories. He thinks you could help prevent future rebellions. That sounds like a lot of work. It is, but you'd be good at it. She smiled slightly. Plus, someone needs to make sure you don't get yourself killed doing something heroic. Is that your job now? Apparently, she said. Someone has to do it. You're terrible at self-preservation. Marcus laughed, and this time his ribs didn't hurt as much. I'm getting better at it. I've lasted this long, haven't I? Below them, in the gardens, they could see humans and Vraxians working together. Engineers sharing techniques. Soldiers trading stories. Children playing games that mixed both cultures. It wasn't perfect. There was still suspicion, still resentment, still wounds that would take generations to heal. But it was a start. Do you think it will last? Kyra asked. The peace. I don't know, Marcus answered honestly. but I know we'll fight for it. Together, that has to count for something. Together, Kyra repeated, looking at their joined hands. I like the sound of that. The sun set completely, leaving them in comfortable darkness. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new problems to solve, new conflicts to navigate. But for tonight, Marcus allowed himself to simply stand there, holding hands with someone he had started to care about, looking out at a galaxy that was just beginning to learn what peace could really mean. Marcus, Kyra said after a while. Yes. Thank you. For everything. For fighting. For not giving up. For showing us a better way. Thank you for believing I could, Marcus replied. They stood there together as the stars came out. Two people from different worlds who had somehow found common ground. It wasn't the ending Marcus had expected when he first agreed to this marriage. It was better. Far below, in a small garden corner, old Tyrion, the gardener, smiled to himself as he tended his silver flowers. He had seen the human commander that first day, had watched him slowly win over hearts and minds through determination and honor. Sometimes Terran thought, the best warriors are the ones who know when to fight and when to build bridges instead. He patted the soil around a newly planted seedling. It would take time to grow, just like this piece. But with care and patience, it would bloom into something beautiful. In the palace above, Marcus and Kyra talked late into the night, planning for a future that neither of them had imagined possible just months before. A future built not on conquest or surrender, but on mutual respect and shared purpose. The war was over. The real work of peace was just beginning, and Marcus Chin, the man who ended 2 wars by refusing to give up, was exactly where he needed to be. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as the final vote was counted. 700 species, representing thousands of worlds, had spoken. Humanity was out. Ambassador Sarah Mitchell stood at the defendant's podium, her hands gripping the cold metal edge. She watched as the holographic display showed the results in bright red numbers. 83% had voted for expulsion. Only the smaller species, the ones humanity had helped during the border conflicts, had voted in their favor. It was not enough. The decision is final, announced Archon Velthor, the crystalline being who led the council. His voice echoed through the chamber like shattering glass. Humanity is hereby banished from the Galactic Council. All human colonies will be quarantined. All trade agreements are void. All communication channels will be severed. You have 30 days to withdraw your people from council space. Sarah wanted to scream. She wanted to tell them this was madness. The conflict that had started this nightmare was nothing more than a trade dispute. Some council merchant had cheated human colonists, and when humans demanded justice, the council called it aggression. When humans defended their rights, the council called it warmongering. But she said nothing. She simply bowed her head and left the hall. That was 50 years ago. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge of the stealth ship Whisper, watching the stars through the view screen. She was born 3 years after the banishment. She had never seen the Galactic Council's Great Hall, had never walked on any alien world openly. Her entire life had been spent in the shadows, and she loved it. Captain, we're picking up something, said Lieutenant Kim from the communications station. It's a council transmission. Encrypted, but we cracked it. Maya smiled. Cracking council encryption had become easy over the years. They still thought humanity was using pre-banishment technology. They had no idea how far humans had come. Play it, Maya ordered. The voice that came through was nervous. It belonged to a Zakan commander, one of the telepathic species that had pushed hardest for humanity's expulsion. Hey, Command. This is Battle Group 7. We've lost contact with the scout ship Eternal Dawn. Last known position was Sector 447, near the old human quarantine zone. Their final transmission they mentioned seeing ships. Lots of ships. But there's nothing on our scanners. Requesting backup, and the transmission cut off suddenly. Maya exchanged glances with her crew. They all knew what this meant. They found one of our outer positions, said Kim quietly. Not exactly found, Maya corrected. We let them see what we wanted them to see. For 50 years, the Galactic Council had assumed humanity was broken. They imagined Earth as a dying world, cut off from resources and technology, slowly fading into irrelevance. They were wrong. So very wrong. The banishment had hurt, yes. Those first 5 years were desperate. Colonies struggled without council technology. Earth's economy crashed. People died. But humans did what they always did when faced with extinction. They adapted. They evolved. They got creative. Maya pulled up a star chart on her personal display. To the council, it showed the quarantine zone around Earth and its nearby colonies. A small bubble of space, easily monitored, easily contained. But Maya's chart showed the truth. Scattered across hundreds of light years were dozens of hidden facilities. Research stations buried in asteroid fields. Military outposts, disguised as dead moons. Shipyards hidden in the debris of ancient nebulae. Manufacturing centers built inside hollow planets. The Galactic Council had given humanity a gift, though they did not know it. They had given humans 50 years to prepare without interference. 50 years to build without oversight. 50 years to become something new? Send a message to Shadow Command, Maya ordered. Tell them the Council is getting nervous. They're sending scouts. We need to accelerate the timeline. Yes, Captain, Kim replied. Message away. Maya turned back to the view screen. Somewhere out there, beyond the light of known stars, was the heart of humanity's new empire. The Shadow Council, a network of leaders, scientists, engineers, and soldiers who had spent 5 decades building a civilization in secret. They had learned from the Council's mistakes. The Council was old, rigid, and slow. It was led by species who had been powerful for thousands of years and could not imagine losing that power. They believed age meant wisdom. They believed size meant strength. Humanity had learned something different. Speed meant survival. Innovation meant power. And being underestimated meant having the element of surprise. A new alert appeared on Maya's console. Another council ship had entered the quarantine zone. This one was bigger. A warship. They're getting bold, muttered Lieutenant Commander Jackson from the tactical station. That's a Judgment-class cruiser. They don't send those unless they mean business. Maya watched the warship's trajectory. It was heading straight for one of the fake outposts humanity had set up. A decoy? A place filled with outdated equipment and old technology designed to look like humanity's best effort at rebuilding. Let them find it, Maya said calmly. Let them think they've discovered our secret base. Let them destroy it if they want. The data they'll recover will tell them exactly what we want them to know. Which is, asked Jackson. Maya's smile widened. That we're weak, that we're desperate, that we're exactly where they think we are. The truth, Maya knew, was something the Council would discover far too late. Humanity was not hiding in fear within the quarantine zone. Humanity had left. They had scattered to the dark spaces between stars, building a network so vast and so hidden that the Council could not imagine its scope. And soon, very soon, the Galactic Council would learn what happened when you banished a species that refused to stay down. The warship reached the decoy outpost and began scanning it. Maya watched with satisfaction as they took the bait. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. It's time to start making noise. Across dozens of sectors, hidden human ships received the signal. The game was about to change. The Council had spent 50 years forgetting about humanity. It was time to remind them. Banished from the Stars, Part 2. The Shadow Network Ambassador Kale pressed his crystalline fingers against the datapad. Watching the reports with growing concern, 3 more ships had gone missing near human space. 5 outposts had been discovered, all abandoned. And strangest of all, there were rumors. Whispers from the edge of Council territory about humans appearing in places they should not be. He sat in his private office aboard the Council flagship Eternal Truth, reviewing 50 years of intelligence reports on humanity. The official story was simple. Humans were contained, isolated, slowly dying in their quarantine zone. But the official story did not match what Kale was seeing. Ambassador, His assistant, a young Velthera named Shira, entered the room. You asked for historical records on human behavior? Yes, Kale gestured for her to continue. The archives show something interesting. Before the banishment, humans were involved in 73 separate aid missions to minor species. They helped rebuild worlds after natural disasters. They shared medical technology freely. They even defended several small civilizations from pirate attacks, asking for nothing in return. Kale's light pulsed thoughtfully. And after the banishment, nothing official, but ... Shira hesitated. There are reports, unconfirmed. Small colonies on the frontier mention mysterious benefactors. Ships with no identification delivering food during famines, medical supplies appearing when plagues hit. Technology transfers that saved failing infrastructure. Let me guess, Kale said quietly. These incidents all involve species that the Council deemed too minor to help. Yes, Ambassador. Every single one. Kale felt something he rarely experienced. Fear. Not of human weapons or ships, but of human patience. While the Council had been congratulating itself on containing the human threat, humanity had been building something else entirely, deep in the asteroid belt beyond Pluto's orbit. Maya Chen walked through the corridors of Shadow Command. The facility was enormous, carved from a massive asteroid and hidden behind stealth fields that made it invisible to even the most advanced. Council scanners. She entered the central chamber where the Shadow Council was meeting. 12 humans sat around a circular table, each representing a different aspect of humanity's secret network. Military leaders, scientists, diplomats, economists, and intelligence chiefs. They were the real government of humanity now, operating completely outside the Council's knowledge. Captain Chen greeted Director James Park, the head of Shadow Command. He was an old man now, one of the few who remembered life before the banishment. Your report? The Council is starting to notice inconsistencies, Maya said, taking her seat. They're sending more scouts. Eventually they'll figure out we're not where they think we are. Good, said General Amara Okafor, head of military operations. Let them look. Every scout they send gives us more data on their current technology. We're 3 generations ahead of them now in stealth and propulsion systems. It's not just technology, added Dr. Sarah Nakamura, Chief of Research and Development. We've been analyzing alien tech for 50 years. We've reverse-engineered everything from Velthora energy shields to Zakan quantum communications. But we didn't just copy them. We improved them, combined them, created hybrid systems that use the best of every species' innovations. Maya nodded. She had seen these systems in action. Human ships now used Velthora shields powered by human fusion reactors, running Zakan communication networks enhanced with human encryption. It was technology the Council had never imagined because they never shared knowledge between species. Each race kept its secrets, afraid of losing advantages. Humans had no such fear. Isolation had taught them that survival meant combining every resource, every idea, every innovation into something greater. What about our external network? Asked Ambassador Michael Torres, head of diplomatic operations. Growing every day, reported Maya. We have agents on 217 worlds, not spies. Actual productive members of those societies. Teachers, doctors, engineers, traders. They're not stealing secrets. They're building relationships. And the minor species. Torres pressed. Maya smiled. They love us. Turns out, when you help people without asking for anything in return, they remember you. We've got informal alliances with 47 species that the Council barely acknowledges exist. If we needed to, we could call on them. Director Park stood, pulling up a holographic map. It showed Council space in blue, the human quarantine zone in red, and scattered throughout the galaxy, hundreds of green dots. Each green marker is a human presence, Park explained. Hidden colonies, research stations, listening posts, trade outposts, and allied settlements. We're not contained. We're everywhere. Kale would have been horrified to see that map. The Council believed they had locked humanity in a cage. They did not realize humans had simply built a new house and left the cage empty. Our economy is stable? asked Financial Director Chen Wei. Better than stable, answered Economic Coordinator Janet Asay. We've been trading with frontier worlds for decades. Resources, technology, knowledge. We use cryptocurrency networks the Council can't track. We've actually got a higher standard of living now than before the banishment and military readiness. Park asked General Okafor. We can field 300 warships within 48 hours, Okafor reported. All equipped with hybrid technology. We've run simulations against Council fleet compositions. In a straight fight, we'd lose. But we're not planning straight fights. We've mastered asymmetric warfare. Hit and fade. Guerrilla tactics. We can be anywhere and nowhere. The goal is not war, Park reminded everyone. The goal is leverage. We need the Council to understand that humanity cannot be ignored. We need them to realize that excluding us was their mistake, not ours. Maya spoke up. With respect, Director, some Council members won't care about leverage. They'll see us as a threat that must be destroyed, and we'll show them destruction is impossible, Park said firmly. We're not the desperate refugees they imagine. We're a fully functional interstellar civilization that operates outside their control. We're the thing they fear most. Proof that the Council is not necessary for survival. The meeting continued for hours, covering logistics, technology development, diplomatic contacts, and military preparations. Maya listened carefully, understanding the scope of what humanity had built. The Galactic Council was an empire of stars, ancient and powerful. But the Shadow Council was a web of connections, hidden and resilient. Empires could fall when their centers were destroyed, but webs simply rerounded around damage. As the meeting ended, Maya returned to her ship. The Whisper was ready to launch on another intelligence mission. This time, she would be observing a major council. Military exercise near the Zaycon homeworlds. Lieutenant Kim met her at the airlock. Captain, we just received a coded burst from one of our deep cover agents on Velthera Prime. The Council is planning something. A secret committee has been formed to investigate human activity. Let me guess, Maya said. Ambassador Kale is leading it? Yes, ma'am. How did you know? Because he's smart, Maya replied. He's one of the few Council members who might actually figure out what we've done. We need to watch him carefully. He could become either our greatest ally or our most dangerous enemy. The Whisper launched silently from the asteroid base, disappearing into the darkness between stars. Behind them, Shadow Command continued its work, coordinating a hidden civilization that spanned the galaxy. The Council thought they had banished humanity to the edges of space. They did not realize humanity had claimed those edges and made them stronger than the center. The game was accelerating. Soon, very soon, the truth would come out. And when it did, the galaxy would never be the same. Banished from the Stars, Part 3. The Web. Revealed Ambassador Kale had not slept properly in 3 weeks. The data kept getting worse. Or better. He was no longer sure which his investigation team had compiled reports from across Council space. What they found was disturbing. On the frontier world of Kellis Prime, a plague had been stopped by mysterious medical supplies that appeared overnight. On Varta Station, an engineering disaster was prevented by technical knowledge that came from an unidentified consultant. On 17 different worlds, educational programs were being run by teachers who had no official records but possessed incredible knowledge. Every trail led back to humans, but not to the quarantine zone. These humans were already embedded in galactic society, living openly, helping communities, and building trust. How many? Kale asked his team during their daily briefing. Commander Thex, a military intelligence officer, checked his notes. Conservative estimate? At least 10,000 human agents operating across Council space. But we think the real number is much higher. Maybe 50,000. Maybe more? 50,000? Kale's light pulsed in shock. That would mean 1 in every 10 humans left their quarantine zone. How did we not notice? Because they did not hide, said analyst Mira, a Zakan telepath. That is the brilliant part. They traveled openly as refugees, traders, scholars, workers. Our border security let them through because they seemed harmless. Individual humans seeking new lives. We never imagined it was coordinated. Kale turned to the holographic display, showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked confirmed human presence. There were hundreds of them, and those were only the ones they had found. This is not infiltration, Kale said slowly. This is colonization. They are colonizing our space, one person at a time, by making themselves useful. By becoming part of our communities, should we arrest them? Asked Thex. On what charge? Kale countered. Helping people? Teaching children? Healing the sick? Every report shows these humans are model citizens. Arresting them would make us look like tyrants, which was exactly the point, Kale realized. Humanity had turned their banishment into a moral victory. While the council looked cruel and petty for excluding them, humans looked compassionate and generous for helping others despite that exclusion. There's more, Mira added reluctantly. We've been monitoring communications between minor species. Many of them are talking about forming their own alliance, an alternative to the council. And they're talking about asking humanity to lead it. Kale felt the weight of that statement. The Galactic Council's power came from unity. If minor species started leaving, the entire structure could collapse. Before he could respond, an urgent alert flashed across the displays. Incoming emergency transmission from Sector 12, announced the communications officer. A Class 7 asteroid is on collision course with the colony world Apprentice. Population 3 million. Impact in 6 hours. Kale's mind raced. What's our response time? Nearest council fleet is 9 hours away, Dex reported grimly. We can't get there in time. What about local defenses? Prentice is a minor colony. They have no planetary defense systems. They've been requesting them for years, but the Council Budget Committee kept denying the funding. Kale closed his eyes. 3 million people were about to die because the Council moved too slowly and cared too little about frontier worlds. Send every available ship, he ordered. Even if we're too late, we have to try. Captain Maya Chen received the alert about Prentice while en route to another mission. She pulled up the data and ran quick calculations. The Council could not reach them in time, but humanity could. Change course, she ordered. Maximum speed to Prentice. Captain, that will take us through Council space, Lieutenant Kim warned. They'll detect us. I know, Maya said calmly. Send a priority message to Shadow Command. Tell them we need authorization for Operation Mercy. The response came back within minutes. Authorized. Execute immediately. Maya's ship was not alone. Across a dozen sectors, human vessels received the same orders. They converged on Prentice from multiple directions, their stealth fields deactivated. For the first time in 50 years, humanity was about to show its true strength in public. On Prentice, people watched the sky with terror. The asteroid was visible now, a growing point of light that meant death. Parents held their children. The elderly prayed to various gods. Officials desperately tried to organize evacuation, knowing there was nowhere to run. Then the ships appeared. First 1, then 3, then 12. They were sleek vessels, unlike anything the Council fielded. They moved with impossible grace, taking up positions around the asteroid. Unknown vessels. Identify yourselves, transmitted the desperate Prentice control tower. A calm voice responded. This is Captain Maya Chen of the Terran Defense Network. We're here to help, Terran. You mean human. Defenses? It could be the most fortified planet in the galaxy. Then we'll destroy it, Zek said coldly. Send a message that defying the Council has consequences. Kale felt something crack inside him. This was why the Council was dying. This arrogance, this assumption that might made right. Get out, Kale said quietly. What? Get out of my office. I won't support genocide. If that's the Council's plan, then the Council has lost its way. Glared at him. You're making a mistake, Kale. History will remember which side you chose. I certainly hope so, Kale replied. 3 days later, the hardliners got their way. A strike force of 50 Council warships, led by Zex himself, departed for Earth. It was meant to be overwhelming force. A demonstration of Council power? Maya received the alert 12 hours before the fleet would arrive. She smiled grimly. Activate Earth Defense Grid, she ordered. Full power. Let's show them what we built. Around Earth, on the Moon, on Mars, in asteroid bases, defense platforms came online. These weren't the old pre-banishment defenses. These were 50 years of human innovation, combining every technology humanity had reverse-engineered and improved. The captain said Kim nervously. There are 50 warships incoming. We only have 30 defending Earth. Don't need more, Maya replied. We're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to capture them. Capture them? You heard me. Humanity needs to prove we're not the aggressors. We need to show we can defend ourselves without killing. Ready the stasis nets. As the Council fleet approached Earth, they saw what looked like a lightly defended planet. A few dozen ships, some defensive platforms. Nothing impressive, then the trap closed. The empty space around Earth wasn't empty at all. It was filled with thousands of microscopic drones, invisible to sensors. When activated, they formed electromagnetic nets that could disable ship systems without destroying them. Within 30 minutes, all 50 Council warships were captured, floating helplessly in space. Not one shot had been fired. Not one life had been lost. Maya broadcast a message to the captured fleet. War Leader Zex, your crews are unharmed. We're sending medical teams to ensure everyone stays healthy. You'll be treated with respect and returned safely to the Council. But we need you to deliver a message. Earth is not defenseless. We don't want war, but we're fully prepared for it. Choose wisely. She ended the transmission and turned to her crew. Broadcast everything, she ordered. Every detail of this battle. Let the whole galaxy see what happened. Let them see that humanity chose mercy when we could have chosen slaughter. Within hours, the footage was everywhere. 50 Council warships, captured without bloodshed. The mighty Council military, defeated by an enemy that refused to kill. Public opinion across. The galaxy shifted like an avalanche, and in the Council chambers, Ambassador Kale watched the footage with a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that millions of lives had been spared. Sadness that it had come to this. He stood and addressed the Council. We have one choice left, he said. We negotiate, or we watch our civilization crumble while humanity builds a better one without us. Banished from the Stars, Part 5. A New Galaxy. The captured Council warships floated in Earth orbit like monuments to a failed strategy. Inside them, soldiers and officers who had come to conquer were being treated as guests. Human medical teams ensured everyone was healthy. Human engineers explained their technology. Human diplomats answered questions patiently. War Leader Zex sat in his command chair, watching Earth through the view screen. He expected to see a desperate world clinging to survival. Instead, he saw gleaming cities, orbital stations, massive agricultural platforms, and defensive grids that made his fleet look primitive. A human guard approached. A young woman with kind eyes. Sir, we're preparing to transport you and your crew back to your ships. They've been repaired and refueled. You're free to leave whenever you're ready. Zex stared at her. You're letting us go? Just like that? Of course, she replied. You're not prisoners. You're guests who overstayed their welcome. Besides, we need you to deliver a message. What message? That this didn't have to happen. That it never has to happen. That we're offering partnership, not domination. Zex looked at this young human who spoke with such confidence. She couldn't have been more than 25 years old. She was born after the banishment, had never known the Council's respect, had every reason to hate his species. Yet she treated him with dignity. Why? He asked. Why show mercy? We came to destroy you, the guard smiled sadly. Because destroying you would make us exactly what the Council feared we were. Because violence creates more violence. Because somebody has to break the cycle. It's the footage of Earth's defense and the subsequent treatment of captured soldiers. Spread across the galaxy faster than any news in history. Every species, every world, every individual with access to galactic networks saw what happened. They saw Council ships disabled without casualties. They saw human medical teams treating their enemies with care. They saw prisoners being returned safely with their dignity intact. And most importantly, they saw the contrast between council aggression and human restraint. Ambassador Kale watched the political fallout from his office. 17 species formally withdrew from the council within the first week. 43 more announced they were reviewing their membership. Protest movements erupted on dozens of worlds, demanding their governments negotiate with humanity. The old power structure was collapsing. But what would replace it? 6 weeks after the failed attack on Earth, the first Galactic Assembly meeting convened. It was held not on a council world, but on a neutral space station that humanity had built specifically for this purpose. The station, called Unity, was itself a message, built with hybrid technology from dozens of species, powered by shared resources designed to accommodate any form of life. Captain Maya Chen, now promoted to admiral, stood in the observation deck watching delegates arrive. Ships from hundreds of worlds, representing thousands of species. Some were former council members who had defected. Others were minor civilizations that had never been allowed council representation. Many were species humanity had helped over the years. Director Park joined her at the window, nervous. Park asked. Terrified, Maya admitted. We're trying to rebuild galactic civilization. What if we get it wrong? Then we adapt, Park replied. That's what humans do. We try, we fail, we learn, we improve. And this time, we're doing it with partners. The assembly hall was different from the old council chamber. No hierarchy of seating, no positions of honor for ancient species. Instead, a circular arrangement where every delegate sat at the same level. A physical representation of equality, Ambassador Kale sat in the delegation from the Velthira, one of the few council species that had chosen to join the assembly. He looked around at the diverse crowd and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Director Park stood to open the session. Welcome, she said, her voice carrying through translation systems to every being present. 50 years ago, humanity was banished from galactic society. Today, we're helping to build a new one. Not because we want revenge, but because we believe the galaxy can do better. She gestured to the holographic display showing the assembly charter. This document establishes new principles for interstellar cooperation. First, all species are equal, regardless of age or technology level. Second, membership is earned through contribution, not inherited through tradition. Third, decisions are made collectively, with every voice heard. Fourth, resources are shared fairly, with special attention to helping developing worlds. Fifth, military force is used only for defense and humanitarian purposes. Murmurs of approval spread through the hall. The assembly will have committees for defense, trade, science, education, healthcare, and environmental protection. Every member species can participate in any committee. Leadership positions rotate every 5 years. No permanent seats. No inherited power. Kale watched as species that had been rivals for centuries nodded in agreement. The humans had done something remarkable. They had created a structure where cooperation was more valuable than domination. We also propose technology sharing, Park continued. Humanity will contribute all our hybrid technologies. We ask that other species share their innovations as well. Together, we can solve problems that no single species could tackle alone. A delegate from the Kellis raised a hand. What about the old council? Will we be at war with them? No, Park said firmly. We're not at war with anyone. The council is welcome to continue existing. But we won't interact with them unless they reform. Species can choose which organization to join. We're offering an alternative, not demanding submission. The session continued for hours, discussing details, debating procedures, establishing protocols. It was messy, complicated, and sometimes frustrating. But it was also democratic, inclusive, hopeful. 5 years passed, the Galactic Assembly flourished, while the old council slowly faded. More species joined the assembly every year, attracted by its fairness and effectiveness. Trade networks expanded. Scientific collaborations produced breakthrough after breakthrough. Conflicts that would have turned into wars were resolved through mediation. The old council didn't disappear, but it became irrelevant. A handful of ancient species clung to it, maintaining traditions that no one else cared about. History had moved on without them. Admiral Maya Chen stood in Unity Station's command center, watching the latest assembly session. Today's topic: establishing joint colonies where multiple species could live and work together. It was an ambitious project, but no more ambitious than what humanity had already accomplished. Admiral, said Lieutenant Kim, still her aide after all these years. We have visitors. Maya turned to see a delegation entering the command center. At its head was Ambassador Kale, now retired from formal politics, but still influential as an advisor. Kale, Maya greeted him warmly. What brings you here? A request, Kale said. The Velthor Academy of History wants to establish a research center. It's dedicated to studying the transition from council to assembly. They want to understand how humanity managed it. They're asking if you'd consult. Maya smiled. Tell them I'd be honored. But not just me. This wasn't a human achievement. It was a galactic achievement. Kale's light pulsed with amusement. Spoken like a true diplomat. You've changed, Maya. When I first encountered you, you were an intelligence officer hiding in shadows. The shadows serve their purpose, Maya replied. Now we need people who can work in the light. They walked together to the observation deck, looking out at the traffic around Unity Station. Ships from hundreds of worlds coming and going in peaceful commerce. Do you ever regret it? Kale asked. The banishment, I mean. If the Council had accepted humanity from the beginning, none of this would have been necessary. Maya considered the question. The banishment hurt. People suffered. People died. But it also forced us to become something better. We couldn't rely on Council's support, so we learned to be self-sufficient. We couldn't demand respect, so we learned to earn it. We couldn't enforce our will, so we learned cooperation. She turned to face Kale directly. If the Council had accepted us, we'd probably still be arguing about trade disputes and military positioning. The banishment gave us something more valuable: perspective. We learned what it's like to be powerless, to be excluded, to be forgotten. And we decided never to make others feel that way. So you're grateful for the banishment. Grateful for what we became because of it. Maya corrected. The pain was real, but so was the growth. Below them, a transport ship docked at the station. Its cargo bay opened to reveal supplies for a frontier world recovering from a natural disaster. Human engineers worked alongside Velthora scientists, Kellis medical staff, and volunteers from a dozen other species. This was the new galaxy. Not perfect, but better. Not unified through force, but through choice. Not ruled by the ancient and powerful, but guided by the innovative and compassionate. Somewhere in the old council chambers, few elderly beings debated procedures that no longer mattered. But here, in Unity Station and thousands of worlds beyond, people were building something humanity had dreamed of for centuries, a true community of stars. Maya's communicator chimed. A new message from Earth. The first joint colony project had been approved. 3 species would work together to terraform a marginal world into a paradise. Want to know the best part? Maya asked Kale. What? In 50 years, when young beings study history, they won't remember the banishment as humanity's defeat. They'll remember it as the beginning of something better. They'll ask themselves, what if we hadn't banished them? Would we still be stuck in the old ways? Kale's light pulsed with laughter. That is, remarkably optimistic, Maya agreed. But we built an interstellar civilization in secret, survived isolation, and created a new galactic order through compassion instead of conquest. If we can do all that, optimism doesn't seem so unrealistic. She looked out at the stars, at the ships passing peacefully, at the future humanity and its partners were building together. 50 years ago, humanity had been cast out of the galaxy. Today, they were helping the galaxy find its way home. And that, Maya thought, was worth every moment of struggle it took to get here. The end.